you're working at your own pace, making sure that nothing is causing pain or discomfort as in joint pain. Muscular discomfort entirely up to you. If you need to stop and have a little stretch, stop and stretch. Join in again when you're ready to do so. Usual props, the ball and the band. If you don't have the band, you could use a strap, a belt. If you don't have a ball, you could use a cushion or a towel just to create a little bit of a bulk. So if you're sitting up, you're trying to find a seated position that allows the ribcage to lift away from the belly, so making sure that I'm not squashing the belly, preventing my diaphragm and my breathing muscles from being able to move inside of the ribcage. So trying to sit up as tall as possible, encouraging the breath to come down into the belly, feeling the belly expanding with the inhalation and relaxing with the exhalation. If you're laying down, taking advantage of the floor, allowing yourself to relax completely onto the floor, onto the mat, feeling the belly raising and falling with the breath. Not because you're trying to push it out actively, it's just the breath that is doing that for you. So softening the front of the chest, relaxing the shoulders, across the front of the throat, the neck, the jaw. See if I can get myself into that nice relaxed belly breath that is going to help me to drop down into more of a rest and digest state. And then at the same time, running a quick scan over the body. So noticing how you feel. Is there any tension? Is there any discomfort anywhere within the body? Is the pressure even between the right and the left side of the body? Are the position of the legs and the position of the arms the same? Is the head centered? Is it slightly off to one side? Is it slightly turned to one side? I'm not changing anything, just noticing where everything is and how I feel to begin with. And then as you feel a little bit more settled, as you feel a little bit more relaxed, then we're going to start working from the hip joint up. So I'm going to start off with a little opening and closing. So keeping the knees bent, the feet are down on the floor on the mat. I'm going to start opening the right leg out to the right. As far to the right as the hip will allow me to go with no pain. And then I'm just going to close it back to the center. And then I'm going to repeat it on the right side. So I'm just going to focus on that right hip to see if I can get movement. Picturing the leg moving into the hip socket. Same as usual, if the hip is tight or the leg is a bit temperamental today, I'm just going to use that hand to guide with the leg. So I'm just going to push out onto the leg to make it open to the side. And then I might need to pull the leg back in to make it come back. So see if I can try and feel the movement into the hip joint. If you're seated, the hips shouldn't be moving as you're sitting on them, so the weight is on them. If you're lying down, check that as the leg opens and closes, your hips are not rolling with the leg. So see if I can keep the pelvis nice and still on the mat and just move the leg into the hip socket. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. And easing back, holding the right leg nice and still. I'm going to repeat the same thing on the left side. So opening the left leg as far as the hip will allow, making sure that there is no pinching, pain into the hip joint. And then I'm going to squeeze it back in again. If I'm laying down, checking that the hips are pulled in the position so you don't feel yourself being pulled to the side. The leg is not twisting me to the side. And then if I'm sitting up, if I feel that I need a little help with the leg, I might use the hand to help me push the leg to the side and then bring it back to the middle. So same as on the other side, just picturing the leg moving into the hip socket to see if I can ease some of the tension, see if I can create some movement into the hip joint, warming up the hip joint. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And easing back, relaxing into the hip, releasing into the leg. It's a little bit of movement to the side. I'm going to try and see if I can get into a movement to the front. So I'm going to go into a little knee lift. If I feel that I can't move the leg at all, again, it's not responding very well today, then I can use the band around the back of the leg to guide that leg into that lift. Lifting the leg up and then taking the leg down. If I feel that the leg is moving, I can feel that little twitch. I can feel the connection into the front of the hip, allowing me to pull the thigh forward towards the chest and then easing it back down again. Exactly the same whether you're seated or lying down. Lying down is a little bit easier as you're working with gravity. As you're sitting up, it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit harder as I'm working against the gravity and then holding that upright position. But I can still get the lift going, however small or big it is. 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing down, relaxing the hip, releasing the leg. Same thing with the left side. So switching the strap around the left leg if you feel that you need the strap for support. And then I'm going to start lifting up onto that left side. So feeling the thigh moving up towards the chest, feeling the front of the hip tensing to create that little closing, that little lifting. And then I'm just going to ease it back down again. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and releasing back, relaxing the hip, releasing the leg. So there's a little bit more movement onto the plane of motion. I'm going to see if I can start mixing the movement of the direction together. So I'm going to see if I can start going into circles. So again, if you need the band, place the band around the right leg. And then this time, whether you're seated or lying down, imagine to have a pencil sticking out from your kneecap. I'm going to use that pencil to draw circles in front of me. So if I'm seated, I'll be drawing circles on the opposite wall. If I'm laying down, I'll be drawing circles on the ceiling. So see if I can think of that movement of taking the thigh bone around into the hip socket. Same as you did for the opening and closing. If you're lying down, making sure that as the leg is circling around, there is no clicking, no grinding. There might be some clicking. There is no grinding into the hip. There is no pain into the hip joint. and then the hips are holding nice and still. So the pelvis is not rolling side to side. So see if I can keep the pelvis steady and then move the leg on top. 3, 2, 1. Reversing the circle. Have a little rest if you need to. 1, 2. Nice and smooth, nice and relaxed. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And releasing down, relaxing the hip, releasing the leg. I'm going to try the same thing on the other side. So same as before. I'm going to picture the pencil strapped to the tip of the knee, and then I'm going to start drawing circles with that pencil on the wall or on the ceiling in front of me. If I'm laying down, keeping the pelvis nice and stable, nice and still. If I'm sitting up, or whether I'm sitting up or laying down, it doesn't matter. If I need the band, I'm just going to place the band around the leg so that I can guide the leg around into that circle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reversing the circle, going the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And releasing back, relaxing the hip, releasing the leg. Just a little bit more movement into the hip joint. I'm going to start climbing up through the spine. Starting from the lower back, I'm going to start off with a nice and easy pelvic tilt. So I'm going to tilt the pelvis back, pressing the lower back down into the mat, and then forward back into neutral. If you're seated, think of rocking back on your tailbone, feel the lower back rounding slightly, and then see if you can come right up onto the seat bones, feel that lower back extending slightly. So tilting and releasing the tilt. If you're lying down, easy as you've got the mat underneath it to guide you. So as I tilt back, feeling the lower back moving down, flattening against the floor, and then as I go forward, it's going to lift away. So I'm going to tilt and release the tilt, as if I was just trying to massage the back of the pelvis and the lower back. So I'm not forcing, I'm not stiffening, I'm not tensing, I'm trying to keep it as loose, as soft, as relaxed as possible. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, and easing back, finding your neutral, adjusting the hips, and then from a forward and back, I'm going to go into a little side to side, so going into a little hip hitch, hitching the right hip up towards the side of the rib cage. I'm going to pull up on the right, hitching the left up to the left, pulling up on the left. So feeling a little tension into the side of the belly as I'm pulling up on the right side, as I'm pulling up on the left side. This time, feeling the pelvis moving slightly from side to side. So think of like a little pendulum moving. If you're seated, Imagine to be walking your seat going up and down the chair. So I'm going to hitch up on the right to see if I can pull up on the right seat, and then I'm going to drop that down and then pull up on the left, drop that down, pull up on the right, drop that down, pull up on the left. Using the arms to give me a little bit more stability and really trying to feel a little tension coming up into the side of the belly to help me create that lift, to create that movement. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing back, relaxing through the hips, adjusting the pelvis, and then I'm going to get into rotations. So if you're seated, the rotation is quite limited as the hips are on the chest, so I can't really move the hips. I'm going to shuffle the feet a little bit closer together, and then I'm going to take the legs over to the right. So if I'm seated, I'm going to use my right hand to pull against the outside of the left leg, and then I'm just going to try and pull the legs over to the right. Then easing my way back, then reaching across with the left arm, and then I'm going to pull the legs over to the left. If you're lying down, keeping the feet and the knees nice and close together, allowing the hips, allowing the pelvis to roll to the side, taking the legs over to the right, bringing them back to the middle, and then I'm going to turn it the other way, taking the legs to the other side. The shoulders are staying down, allowing the arms to open up nice and wide, making sure that the shoulders are keeping on the floor and just the hips are moving. Think of your pelvis like a bowl full of water. As the legs go to the side, see if you can tip the bowl to the side. So making sure that the movement is coming from your hips and not from the legs. So see if I can really tip the bowl over to the right, bring it back to the center, and then I'm going to tip it over to the left. So feeling that rotation, feeling that turning up and into the back. Making sure that, again, I'm not forcing, I'm not pushing with the leg. There shouldn't be any pinching or pain in the back. If you find that the back is quite stiff, so as you turn the hips, you can feel that the shoulders tend to pull away from the ground. Use the head to help keep the shoulders down. So when the legs go to the left, I'm going to turn to look over my right shoulder. When the legs go to the right, I'm going to turn to look over the left shoulder. Six. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1. And releasing back, adjusting the hips, adjusting the pelvis, and then from the lower back, I'm going to move into the upper back. I'm going to start with I'm going to keep going with the rotation. So this time I'm holding the hips nice and still. I'm going to turn from the ribcage, from the shoulders. Again, if I'm laying down, this time it will feel a little bit harder as the floor is going to get in the way. If I'm sitting up, I've got plenty of room. So I'm just going to try and use the space the best way I can, reaching the arms straight in front of you and then rolling the shoulders over to the right. I'm going to turn and reach as far to the right as I can. Easing back to the center, I'm going to roll over the left shoulder, turn and reach as far to the left as I can. Easing back to the center, and then turning and reaching to the other side. And then over the other way. So rolling from shoulder to shoulder if you're lying down on the back. If you're seated, think of passing something to the person behind you or to reaching around to grab hold of your seat belt or something. So I'm just going to try and reach around as far as I can to the right, coming back to the center, and then I'm going to reach around as far as I can to the left. Making sure that the shoulders are staying down, so they're not shrugging up into your head, and they're not shrugging up into your ears. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release it back. Giving the shoulders a little bit of a roll, adjusting the shoulders, adjusting the upper back. And then from rotation, I'm going to go into a little lateral flexion. So if you're seated, you don't need to support the head. If you're lying down, you might want to support the head with one hand so that the neck doesn't have to strain, dragging the leg, dragging the head over from side to side. I'm going to start reaching down the right side, as far down the right as I can, pulling myself back to the middle, and then I'm going to reach down the left side. If you're seated, try not to lean forward, try to move just the sideways. So have a picture of your spine, just bending to the side, coming back to the middle, and then flexing the other way. If you're lying down, I'm going to lift just about the head off the ground, so I can reach down the side, taking the head with me, come back to the center, and then I'm going to reach the other way, taking the head with me to the other side. So again, feeling a little tension coming from the side of the belly, pulling you side to side into the movement, maintaining that connection at the front of the belly. So if you've got that core set, tightening through the middle to hold the belly nice and strong, the back nice and supported. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing down. Giving the head a gentle roll, making sure that the neck doesn't feel stiff, doesn't feel tight. Again, I guess adjusting the rib cage and the shoulders, making sure that you're back into that neutral alignment. And then from lateral flexion, I'm going to start focusing on forward flexion and extension. So again, if you're lying down, you want to support your head. If you're seated up, you don't need to support the head as the head is on top of the shoulders. I'm going to start with flexion, so tucking the chin down towards the chest. I'm going to lift the head and the shoulders off the ground, flexing my way forward. I'm not pulling on the head. What's pulling me up is the front of the belly, pulling on the rib cage. My head attaches to the rib cage, so my head is coming up. Then I'm just going to ease my way back down, and then I'm going to go into extension. So the opposite, I'm going to try and push my chest up and towards the ceiling, see if I can try and extend it, see if I can try and lift the back of the rib cage away from the mat. Then I'm going to ease back, and then I'm going to flex, so forward, round in the upper back. If you're seated, think of a nice space across the front of the chest as you go into extension. So I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades together, push my chest forward and up. And then a nice tension across the front of the chest as I go into flexion, squeezing the shoulders together at the front to see if I can really open up and round into the upper back. So extension into flexion. So opening at the front and then opening at the back of the body. Opening at the front and then opening at the back of the body. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last one. And releasing back, adjusting the shoulders, relaxing into the back, relaxing into the rib cage, and then taking the movement up into the neck. I'm going to stay with the flexion extension. So this time I'm going to get into a little skull rock. So if you're lying down, think of the floor below the head, behind the head. I'm going to use the floor to guide me, same as I did for my lower back. If you're seated, imagine your back and your head to be against the wall. So what I want is to imagine the back of my neck flattening against the floor of the wall behind me. So I'm going to push the chin into the back of the throat. Just think of giving yourself a double chin, lengthening the back of the neck. And then I'm going to go in reverse. I'm going to poke my chin forward and up, trying to open up into the front of the throat. So I'm going to push it in, trying to lengthen into the back of the neck, and then pull it forward and up. We're trying to open up through the throat. If you're lying down, making sure that the head stays on the floor. So I'm going to just press that down into the mat, and then trying to pull it away. But the head is staying on the floor. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. And releasing back, giving the head a gentle roll, adjusting the shoulders again, adjusting the position of the head. And then from flexion extension, I'm going to go into a little lateral flexion. So keep looking straight ahead. So if I'm laying down, I'm going to keep looking straight up at the ceiling. I'm not going to look to the side. I'm going to pull my right ear towards the right shoulder. So moving the head to the right. I'm still looking up. Then I'm going to pull the left ear to the left shoulder. And then right to the right again. So think of a little flexion side to side. Making sure that as I'm moving the head from side to side, there is a little stretch down the side of the neck. But there shouldn't be pinching. There shouldn't be pain shooting down the arms or any tingling into the hands, into the fingers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And easing back to the middle, centering the head, and then from lateral flexion, we're going to go into rotation. So this time, keep the shoulders nice and still, especially if you're seated. Don't let the shoulders wander around. I'm going to turn the head to look around at the right shoulder. He's back to the middle. And then I'm going to turn to look around the left shoulder. And then back to the middle. And then, same as usual, notice the difference between the right and the left turn. As you might find that as you turn one way, it feels easier. So see if you can focus on the stiffer side. See if you can try and keep it a little bit looser in that direction. 5, 4, 3, 2, Last one. And returning the head back to the middle, centering the head, adjusting the shoulders. So spine a little bit warmer, see if we can focus on the shoulder joint at this time. So I'm going to start off with a little internal external rotation. So allowing the arms to stretch long down the side of the body, reach them away, and then you're going to start winding them in and out. So I'm going to turn them in as far as the arm can rotate, and then I'm going to wind them out as far as the arm can rotate the other way. So I'm going to rotate them in and then rotate them out. Picturing the top of the arm turning into the shoulder socket. It's the same as we did for the hip earlier. See if I can just be aware of the arm moving into the shoulder socket, as if I was trying to loosen up a really rusty screw. So see if I can just like attempt to turn it just gradually in and out, in and out, in and out until it starts moving a little bit better. 5, 4, 3, 2, last one, and releasing back, relaxing through the shoulder, so some movement into the shoulder joint. I'm going to start focusing on one direction. I'm going to go into a front raise, one arm at a time. I'm going to start raising the whichever right, left arm up to the front. I'm going to take it up, take it back as far as I can. As the right comes down, I'm going to pick up the left. As the left comes down, I'm going to pick up the right. So same as usual, if I'm seated, the arms, because I've got to lift them against the gravity, the perception is that the arm feels heavier. So if you can feel that your neck is stiffening, so I'm really fighting and tensing to create that lift, make the lift smaller. So allow the shoulder to relax and the neck to stay relaxed and make the lift a little bit smaller. If you're laying down, you're working with gravity, so it should be feeling easy enough to take the arm back. Just making sure that you're not forcing it if it starts feeling tight or painful for the shoulder. So again, I'm just going to take it as far as it works for the shoulder, both right and left side. 4, 3, 2, last one, and releasing back, returning the arms down by the side, relaxing the shoulders, changing the direction of the movement. Instead of going for a front raise, this time I'm going to go into a lateral raise. So swinging the right arm around the side and towards the head, and then as the right arm comes back, I'm going to swing the left. So one comes up to the head, one moves down to the hips, one comes up to the head, one moves down to the hips. Again, the closer to the floor, the better. If I feel that that puts pressure on my shoulder, then I might have to keep it a little bit higher. So I can still get into that little, almost like a steering around, waving around, but without creating pain or pressure in the shoulder joint. So if I'm seated, the more lateral the movement, so the more I keep it to the side, the better. But I might find that really upsets the shoulder. It's making it really painful for the shoulder, in which case I'm just going to allow the arm to come slightly forward to the body line, so I can still move it into the little lateral raise, into that little wave to the side, but without the pain in the shoulder. 4, 3, 2, 1. And releasing down, giving the shoulders a little bit of a roll, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the arms, I'm going to go back into the front raise, but this time, instead of moving one arm at a time, I'm going to move them together. So I'm going to raise both arms up and behind, and then I'm just going to return them back. So if you're seated, think of that nice lift as the arms are coming up. Think of maintaining a nice lift at the front of the chest, making sure that the head of the chin doesn't start poking forward and pushing you down. Keeping the head on top of the shoulders, the neck feels loose, the head is free to turn around and look around. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release and back. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the arms, and then I'm going to try one more time, going back into that lateral raise. Again, both arms together. So I'm going to scoop them around the side and towards the head, and then I'm going to bring them down. So think of making a snow angel on the floor. So I'm going to open and then close. Open and then close. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and releasing back. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the arms. So I've got a little bit more movement into the shoulder joint. See if I can try and combine the movements together. So I'm just going to reach the right arm straight in front of me. So pointing directly at the ceiling if I'm lying down, pointing at the wall in front of you if I'm sitting up. And then imagine your fingers to be pencils. I'm going to start drawing a circles on the wall in front of me, on the ceiling above. And then I'm going to progressively make the circle a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, using as much space as possible, encouraging a little movement from the rib cage, gentle rotation to open up the movement. But same as you've been doing so far, making sure that the movement is not creating grinding in the shoulder. So if the shoulder grinds, I'm going to keep it smaller, making sure that it's smooth. So I'm not upsetting the shoulder, I'm not creating tension into the shoulder and into the neck. 3, 2, 1. Reversing the circle, going the other way. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And releasing back, relaxing the shoulder, relaxing the arm. Same thing with the left side. So reaching the left arm in front of you and then starting with a little circle. Progressively see if I can make the circle a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. So rolling with the shoulders, and to see if I can open up the movement from one side to the other. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Reversing the circle, going the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And releasing back, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the arms. Then when you're ready, if you're laying down, rolling over onto your side, pushing yourself up into sitting. Finding your comfortable seated position. Leaning against the wall, against the sofa if you feel that you need a little support for the back, using the arms behind if you need to do so. And then same as we did at the beginning, think of space at the front of the belly. But this time I'm going to see if I can exaggerate that space. So instead of sitting up tall, I'm going to try and push the chest forward, and then I'm going to try and take it up towards the ceiling. I'm going to let the shoulders fall back behind me. I'm going to look forward, I'm going to look up, look back, and then I'm going to release and then come forward. Allowing the chin to drop down to the chest and the shoulders to roll forward, round in the back. I'm going to roll my way down as far as I feel comfortable going. And then I'm curling back up again. Flicking the shoulders back, lifting through the chest, looking forward, looking up, looking back. And then releasing, coming forward, rounding the back, dropping the chin down and towards the chest, coming forward, coming down. I'm curling back up. Last time, nice big lift, pushing the chest forward, lifting it up, drop the shoulders back, look up, look back as far as you can. And then releasing back to the front. One hand to the belly, one hand to the back. Take you out. Give yourself.